Hey bag maker, today I'm going to be talking about scrap tape, new waxed canvas, and webbings that we've added to the shop. The book review will be for a book called Jelly Roll Animal Quilts. Today's bag lab will be how to measure for a gusset on a flat pouch, and there's a great giveaway at the end. I'm Sarah Lawson from Sew Sweetness. Thanks so much for joining me for Social Sunday, my monthly sewing chat. Hey everyone, welcome to Social Sunday, or at least our rescheduled Social Sunday show. We had a little bit of technical difficulties for the original scheduled show, so thank you for your patience and hanging in there with us. Danny's got everything sorted, which we're both thrilled about. Before we get started with the show, I wanted to remind you the usual spam reminder. If you're watching over on Facebook and you receive a private message with a copy of our Sew Sweetness logo, usually they're asking you to click on a link, enter credit card information to claim a prize, or give them any other personal information. Please report or block that. And if you're watching over on YouTube and you've left a comment on the show and you see a reply to your comment, again, it's usually a copy of our Sew Sweetness logo asking for phone number or credit card information. Report or block that as well. I always announce the winner's name verbally on the show, and we have the winner's name entered into the comments as well. And everything that I'm scheduled to talk about during Social Sunday are things that I've purchased myself. So these are not things that I'm getting paid to talk to you about, but just cool things that I found that I'd like to share with you. And everything that I'm scheduled to talk about, I link to in the description. So if you're interested in finding out more about any of the books, fabrics, notions, or projects that I talk about during Social Sunday, just check that link in the description and you can find out more information there. So I have a bunch of fun things to talk to you about today, and actually I've added a couple things while we were waiting for the technology to get back on track. So for the notion of the week, actually viewer Joyce has recommended a couple of today's items, so thank you so much, Joyce. And if you ever have anything to recommend, it could be a notion, book, new fabric, feel free to email me. My email is sarah@sewsweetness.com. Danny's going to put hopefully my link on the screen. There it is. sarah@sewsweetness.com. You can email me anytime. All right, so this notion is called scrap tape. I'm going to have Danny switch over to the overhead camera so that I can show you what it looks like and how it works. So the scrap tape is meant to sew with scraps. This is what it looks like right here, and it comes on a roll, different widths. I purchased the one that was 2.5 inches wide, and it's not a fusible interfacing. It's just a substrate that you can sew through and attach fabric scraps and assemble them into a strip. So here's an example pattern of something, a project that you can make using the scrap tape. This scrappy Christmas tree quilt pattern, and as you can see, it's got rows of the scraps then pieced together to form the tree. Okay, so I before the show I sewed a couple of scraps on here, and they don't have to be straight up and down. As you can see, I've got sort of a diagonal edge over here, and the directions on the product say that this is not meant to be ironed on, so as you work through you'll just finger press, and then once you've assembled all the fabrics on your strip, you can flip to the opposite side and use your ruler to line up against the edge of the substrate, and then just trim the edges of the fabric so that you've got a nice even strip. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and really quick just add one strip on camera, and then I'll just show you. Finger pressing is really easy, but I'll just show the one strip sewn. Okay, so I sewed mine with 1/4 inch seam allowance. If your fabrics are uneven, you'll just trim that to 1/4 inch and then finger press. If you have a seam roller, you can use a seam roller for that, or you can just use your fingers. And again, we're not using an iron here. And then you'll just continue on adding fabrics until you have enough in the strip to assemble your project. And here's another good example for what to use it for. So this is called Scrap Tape by the Gypsy Quilter, and I've got a link in the description in case you're interested in checking out more there. So I read a great article the other day by Adam Grant and Allison Sweet Grant, and I just wanted to share it because I've been doing a gratitude journal for some time, but I think this is kind of like a little step up from a gratitude journal, and I really liked the idea, so I'm just going to read a quick paragraph from their original article. The article's called "Stop Trying to Raise Successful Kids." Even though this is directed at kids, I feel like this can apply to people of all ages. When our own kids started school, we noticed that many of our questions at the end of the day were about accomplishments. Did your team win? How did the test go? To demonstrate that caring is a core value, we realized that we needed to give it comparable attention. We started by changing our questions. At our family dinners, we now ask our children what they did to help others. At first, "I forget" was the default reply. But after a while, they started giving more thoughtful answers. "I shared my snack with a friend who didn't have one," for example, or "I helped a classmate understand a question she got wrong on a quiz." They had begun actively looking for opportunities to be helpful and acting upon them. So Adam Grant is suggesting, besides, if you decide to keep a journal, besides 3 things that you're grateful for, also write down 3 ways that you were useful to other people that day. And I just really love that sentiment, because I think sometimes we go about our day and just are involved with our things or what we're doing. And I think sometimes it's helpful to actively, like he mentioned in the article, actively look for if there's something I can do for someone else, maybe just as small as paying them a compliment. I really love those shoes, or your hair looks great, or it doesn't even have to be something physical. It can just be like, I really appreciate how kind you were, or how you answered my question. Things like that. Very small, but I think certainly doable. So just wanted to share that. And pairing with that, I have a question for you. Let me know in the comments. What is something that you are grateful for? Go ahead and just type it in the comments now, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. And we'll definitely be looking after the show for some of the things that you're grateful for. All right, so Andrea Graham sent me a couple of So Sweetness bags that I wanted to share with you. Love the artistry of the different materials that she put together. And so first one up is the Super Bloom Tote. I've got a link to the pattern in the description in case you are interested in checking that out after the show. Andrea Graham used a bunch of different substrates and materials that make this bag look really professional. Love the canvas print. She paired it with 2 different vinyls, 2 different textures of vinyls, and let me show you the back. It's got a slip pocket on the back. And then, Danny, I don't know if you can switch to the overhead camera if the zoom will pick this up, but I'll open the top of the bag. Yes, perfect. So she added a zipper end over here. We have some of those in the shop if you've never worked with a zipper end. Let me see if I can hold the bag. There we go. So we've got a zipper overlay over here. I have a free video in case you're interested in adding a zipper overlay to your bag, and also Andrea added a slip pocket with the exterior fabric in it. I think it looks, I just love it. I love all the different details. What else? She added some strap ends, rivets, of course. I'm just scanning over the bag to make sure I haven't missed anything. Got the purse feet on the bottom. So love it. Love the rainbow. Everything looks fantastic. And then she sent me a starling bag that she made with this unicorn print vinyl. I'll show you the inside first, and then we'll go back to the front camera to check out some more of the outside. So this one's got a recessed zipper also. And on the inside, since this is white on the inside, this one might show up a little bit better on camera. Another zipper overlay. She's got her little label over here on the inside. Let's see. And then I'll have Danny switch to the front camera. All right, so here's the bag. Full view of the bag. The pattern has a side zipper on either end with a separate pocket for each section. There's one on the other side too. And then Andrea made a really pretty adjustable strap, and it's got a strap end over here secured with a rivet, so she didn't have to actually stitch the end of this down. I think it's a really beautiful finish. There's her slider, and I think this really looks great in the antique brass finish as well. This is the Starling bag. I've got a link to this one in the description as well. And amazing job, Andrea. I love the different fabrics you chose. Being a horse lover, the unicorns and the flowers just really appealed to me. And amazing job, and thanks for the bags. Okay, so we've got the new fabrics that I'm sharing from my stash this week are some new wax canvases. We've got 3 new colors. We had a lot of great colors before, but I think these 3 new colors really hit the spot. So Danny's going to switch to the overhead camera. So for our photos for the website, I always like to kind of crinkle the fabric just so you can see that the wax kind of leaves marks. Like, it kind of gives a distressed appearance, which I think is the appeal for wax canvas. But here's a piece that is minus all of my little scrunching distressed marks. It's kind of a reddish with some pink hues in it, so I feel like it's not necessarily a straight on red. The second one is more of a cream colored. I think this would be great for a neutral bag as well. And we did already have a green in the shop, but we've got a second green now. This one's quite dark. If you've ever purchased the emerald cork from us, this is not the same shade, and it's not quite as dark as that, but it is still dark. As you can see on camera, it's coming up quite dark. But I've got a link to these 3 in the description in case you're interested in checking them out after the show. And we've got some new webbings. I'm working on a pattern right now. I just finished it, and I used webbing for it. And so also the Heartlands backpack uses webbing. So these are some Ruby Star webbings. I like they're thick. They're not too thick, but I love how these particular webbings feel. And we have them in 2 different prints. And we have a few, let's see, a few 1.5 inch widths. These are both 1 inch. Here's one, it's black on one side and sort of a chevron shimmery. The white is a little bit shimmery, which looks really nice. And then a few more 1.5 inch. There's one in black, orange, purple. There's a little bit of blue in this one. Here's sort of a light brown and cream colored. And then the blue one's my favorite. And then the last ones I've got are all 1 inch wide. These are all stripes, so 2 different colors with stripes. I love the idea of webbing because I feel like it gives a pop of something different in the bag, so different than maybe the exterior fabric that you're using. I like that it's a bit quicker, no need to cut out fabric and interfacing for a strap, and I think so many store-bought bags I see now are with webbing for the straps, so I think the webbings are definitely on trend for your bag straps. But got a link in the description. All of these webbings are in stock right now. And I just noticed, in fact, that Tula Pink is coming out with some really cool gray work gray ribbons. That's coming in the fall, so I've already ordered those. And we already had some other webbings previously in stock, so you can find those all on the website using the link in the description. So I have a question for you. Let me know in the comments, which of the new wax canvases did you like the best? Did you like the cream, the green one, or the red and reddish pink? Let me know in the comments which one you like the best. I think the green one comes a little bit better. The color shows up a little bit better in the front camera, but let me know in the comments which of these 3 that you liked the best. Okay, so a couple weeks ago now, I decided to start, this is horse related, just a little quick thing that I've been studying. It's called the Masterson method, so it's not exactly horse massage, not exactly energy work. It's kind of using your hands with a very light touch to release tension in horses. And there's also a book and a course for dogs as well, which I think is really great. My dog's a little bit anxious. I'm thinking I'm going to try some of these methods on him as well after reading the dog version of the book. But I got a certificate for attending a 2-day training session. It was 14 hours in total, so I learned a lot. I've been practicing on my horse. It worked from the first horse that I practiced on. While we were there at the weekend, I practiced on 5 different horses and then practicing on my own horse. everything transferred right away. So next month I'm going to their next step, which is the 5-day. I'm super excited. I feel like for me, it really helps. It almost feels like meditation for me. And since it's helping my horse, I feel like we're both getting the benefits of that. So I've linked to in the description the horse version and the dog version in case you have either and you're interested in investigating it. And on to the book review for this month. This was recommended by Joyce. It's called Jelly Roll Animal Quilts. And I thought this would be really cute for, there's quilts in the book as well as, I don't know if you'd consider that an area rug or just a room decoration, but I think this is really cute for a young child or even a baby shower gift. So I'm going to switch, Danny's going to switch over to the overhead camera and I'm going to show you all of the animal projects in the book. And as you can see, because it's called Jelly Roll Quilts, all of these projects are made with a jelly roll. All right, so all of these are animals. The first one's a bear. Super cute. For me, the little area rug is, in any of the animals, is my favorite. Next one's an owl. And I do like the colors they've chosen for each of the quilts too. A puppy dog. A sassy cat. I just noticed right now they use the quilt to make a little teepee. That's cute. Raccoons. The quilts actually look fast and easy. I was perusing the instructions. Everything looks really quick to put together. Well, relatively quick for a quilt. Elephant's definitely my favorite. Love all the different colors in the ears. Ladybug. Ladybug's probably my second favorite. And then there's one more, a singing frog. So thanks again, Joyce, for the recommendations for today. Again, the book's called Jelly Rolled Animal Quilts, and there's a link in the description in case you're interested in checking that book out after the show. All right, Danny, are you ready?
What?
Interrupting the show for a special report.
Because now it is time for Bag Lab.
All right, tonight's Bag Lab suggestion is from Sharon. Sharon emailed me the other day and she said, good evening, Sarah. I want to add a gusset to an otherwise flat pouch like your Hexie pouch or selvage pouch that doesn't have box corners or darts. My question is how to measure the length of fabric that I would need for the gusset to go around the sides and bottom of the pouch. Maybe you would consider this for the next Bag Lab. Thank you for your time and help, Sharon. All right, great question, Sharon. And this is something, since I'm working on the new patterns right now, this is something that I use regularly when I'm working on new patterns. So I'm going to have Danny switch to the overhead camera and I'm going to show you exactly what I would do. All right, so here is my free Hexie zipper pouch pattern. I'm going to be using this pattern piece for the demonstration. So what Sharon wanted to know is this particular pouch, the original instructions is just a front and the back and there's no side panel. So Sharon wanted to know how to measure, if you wanted to add a side panel and figure out how that's sewn together, how to find out how big you need to cut the piece. This is just a cut on the fold, so this will be mirror image, so this is just half of the piece. So I've had these little bias tapes for, I probably want to say, over 10 years, and these are what I use for figuring out something like this. I like the bias because it's easy to go lay this out through the curves, and because it's thin, I don't have an extra piece of fabric getting in the way. And also because it's double fold bias tape, it's 4 layers of fabric, so it's not as thin or flimsy as a single piece of fabric. So you can make your own double fold bias tape. It's really easy. It just needs to be cut on a 45-degree angle, but I'm using this pre-purchase bias for this example. So I'm going to be running the bias along this edge of the fabric and then just multiplying it by 2 just because I have the other half. And so my biggest tip about using the bias tape is not to pull it, especially as you go through the curves. You want to just gently lay it down just so you're not distorting how big of a piece that you need. So I'm just going to lay this down along the top edge of the fabric and just kind of lay it out along the thick black line. And again, I'm just gently laying it down without pulling. Okay, so I'm going to take my marking tool and I'm just going to draw a line. I'm going to take out my ruler and I'm just going to lay this out. Where's my line? There it is. Okay, I'm just going to lay this out again without stretching. You're not stretching at all, just lay it down. Make sure it's straight. And I've got 9.5 inches here. So I'm going to multiply that by 2 because again, this pattern piece was just half of the piece needed. So 9.5 times 2 is 19 inches long. So before the show, let me move this out of the way. Before the show, I went ahead and cut out the pattern piece. As you can see, this is the full-sized piece. And then I also cut a piece which would be my side panel. So this is 19 inches long, and I decided I wanted it to be 1 1/4 of an inch wide, but you can decide on the width depending on what you're making. So I'm going to go ahead and pin this in place, and let's see how everything fits. I put a center marking on the middle of my piece, and to get that center marking, I just used my pattern piece and laid that out. And then I measured this piece in half and also drew a center marking again with my friction pen. So I'm going to place these right sides together and let's see how I did with my measurements. So I would say these measurements from using the bias tape are a really good guide to get you very close, but you might need to make some adjustments when you actually get to your project. Yeah, but the measurements from the bias tape will get you very, very close. So I like to first pin in the center and then pin the 2 top corners and then kind of ease the fabric in through the curves. It helps me to better distribute everything. And another tip about pinning through the curves is I kind of like to get 2 wonder clips a little distance from the curved edge, and I'll just take my finger and just kind of pull what feels like the center, and then I'm going to go ahead and continue working my way around. Again, just another tip for better distributing the fabric. Okay, so far so good. Let me get the other side pinned. And yeah, I feel like I'm pretty happy with the fit. Everything fit really nicely. And this time I'm not going to demonstrate sewing instructions or what to do with the rest of the pouch, but since Sharon's question was just about measuring for adding a side panel, I think these tips will help get you started and on your way to modifying different sewing patterns to fit your needs. So thank you so much, Sharon, for the question for today. I really appreciate you. And we're going to go get over now to Danny's picks of the month.
Hey everyone, my picks of the month are, we have B. Young made the triple threat briefcase. She made this with the brown cork, and it just turned out really cool. She had I don't know if this is in the pattern, but she made it with the slip cross to let it go on your luggage when you're traveling. Is that built in it, sir, or is that added?
I'm not going to lie, I haven't thought about that pattern in a little bit, so I
Here's
don't
the
remember.
part that sold me. I don't know if you could see. You had to look really close. It's Star Wars on the inside. I love bags that are work on the outside and play on the inside, and she did a great job with this one. Next up, we have Janet. She made the compass bag. This is another fabric that it's been around for a while, and color iterations change, but I always adore the fabric. No matter what, I don't know what it is, it doesn't get old to me. I just really love the color combinations. And she did such a great job. I love the rainbow zipper on the inside, the pulls. It just looks great. Good job on that. Next up, we have Jen. She made the yoga bag, and she's not using it for yoga. She actually uses it when she travels because she carries light fixtures for setting up for her sewing equipment, I believe.
Oh my
or
gosh.
her displays at like a craft fair. I can't remember the use, but she takes this with and sets it up. And she made it custom to her fit, and great job.
That's so clever. I love that.
Yep. And now we have a Jeanette. That's Janet, Jen, and Jeanette. And Jeanette made a Miss Flower water bottle bag, and I love the little raccoons on here. And I'm sure if she was selling this, My wife would probably buy this and give it to her dad because he's a big raccoon aficionado. It was a softball team he played on for like 40 years. And last but not least, actually not last, we have Leslie coming up with this is the Heartlands backpack.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, I was getting it out, Sarah. And the ribbing in the back, the fine details with the zipper pulls, great job. And last but not least is Lisa, and she made the easy leather hobo bag. And I like how she splitted the fabric down the middle to give it a little pizzazz to it, and the inside looks super cool. Great job, everyone.
Awesome. We love seeing all your finished bags, so keep posting pictures of them online, and great picks this month, Danny. Good job. All right, so I'm going to be answering questions live in just a minute, so if you have a question for me, I know this is not exactly our usual time, so I'm not sure how many questions Danny's been able to collect, but before we get over to the live questions, I wanted to announce the winner of last month's giveaway, and that winner is Anina Foster, so congratulations to Anina. Please email me after the show so that I can get you connected with your prize. Danny's going to put my email address up on the screen one more time. It's sarah@sewsweetness.com. All right, congratulations, Anina, and there's another giveaway at the end of the show. All right, Danny, were there any questions? Hopefully a couple.
There's a lot of comments, but I
Okay.
didn't see questions, but I was preoccupied a little bit.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Let's see if there's anyone's coming through.
Okay, no problem. If there weren't, then that's fine as well. I just wanted to let you know that our shows will be back on track with the first Sunday of the month. Our next show will be May 4th, and it'll be at the usual time, 7 p.m. Central Time. Lynette says, wow, great picks, Danny. And Kim says, love the demo. Definitely something that will come in handy. Yes, I use it several times a month, that little bias tape trick. It's very handy, and I mean, I would say 99% of the time it gets me the measurement I need, as long as I'm not stretching that bias tape. Lefty One says the briefcase is so cute. Yeah, I thought it turned out amazing. And Angela said, I discovered your channel a few years ago when I was trying to figure out how to add a gusset to a bag. I'm loving this episode. Thank you so much, Angela. I try to think of the bag lab demonstrations to make them applicable to whatever bag you're working on, because I know everyone has their own preferences, and generally you might need to add different things, pockets or other things, to make the bag how you actually want it. And so I feel like making the bag lab demonstrations more generalized helps you take that knowledge and use it, like make it your own, which I just really love that. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. Donalyn says, great demonstration. That bias tape is very cute too. Yeah, I forgot the name of the company is escaping me, but they had it in all different like polka dots and like little flowers. It was really cute. But like I said, I've had this for about 10 years. So, yeah. All right. Okay, so I'm going to get over to the giveaway. I have an extra question that you can answer in the comments as an additional method of entry. The giveaways are randomly drawn. You have until the end of the day this Saturday to leave a comment on the show. And we compile all the comments from YouTube and Facebook together, and I'll announce the winner on next month's show. What is something you used to find hard but now is easy? Let me know in the comments. I would say for me, probably the biggest thing is binding. Binding either on a quilt or on a bag. It used to be really challenging for me. I felt it never quite looked right. Maybe the widths of the binding was either too much or too less, and I just had trouble getting it sewn by machine. Now I love using it. Oh, thanks so much, Elaine. Elaine says, your shop is my favorite for bag hardware, zippers, and such. Thank you. I really appreciate that. But now I actually enjoy using binding. I feel like sometimes there's a bag pattern that I try really hard to make it sewn right sides together in the instructions, and it's just, sometimes it's more difficult to sew, depending on the design, sew it right sides together than just to add binding. Sometimes the binding makes it easier, the sewing process easier, as well as a little bit of extra, I call it like a skeleton to the bag, added structure. And so I'm glad that I enjoy using it now. I will say most of my patterns do not use binding, but when I do need it, I'm glad I like using it because sometimes it's really an asset to have it in the pattern. Latoya says, you have made binding not so terrible for me. Thank you so much. Yeah, the reason I was thinking about binding recently is because the pattern I just finished, I just needed to use the binding in a small part, and it made the sewing in the bag so much easier because it's a very small bag, and I just couldn't, it was impossible to sew it right sides together, so I'm glad it worked out. Joyce said, I used to feel challenged by zippers, but with the discovery of double-sided sticky tape, they are a breeze. Yes, either, whatever your preference, either Dritz Wash Away Wonder Tape or the By Annie basting tape. Yeah, it definitely makes zipper installation so much easier than with pins. So one more comment. Regarding the cavalcade, the trickiest part was top stitching the bottom of the zipper accent right above the zipper to the train case. The thickness and trying to get it even on the lining side was hard. Any tips? Top
This is
stitching.
the young who made the triple thread
Yes,
case.
yes. My mind is drawing a blank on that particular sewing step. I know what you mean by the accent. Let me email you after the show. I'll look up your email address and I'll email you and we'll connect about that after the show. Sorry about that. Sometimes live, my mind is just like, but again, a reminder, our May show will be on May 4th. That's first Sunday of the month, 7 p.m. Central Time. I'm so happy Danny's got the technology working again, so I don't anticipate any delays, and we'll see you again for next month's show. I hope you have a great